Today's topic is, should you be going shopping for business equipment and items during December to lower your taxes? Hi, my name is Tony Cameron. I'm with TLDR Accounting, and I receive this question a lot in November and December as we're coming up on year end. Folks ask me, well, year end's coming up. Should I go spend some money on coffee maker, laptop, anything like that to get the deductions on my tax return? And I cringe. The answer is almost always no, except in some very specific circumstances. And let's start this conversation with some accounting wisdom that should always be on your mind. The key is to maximize your after-tax profit, not minimize your taxes. So while taxes are a very big deal, you really need to be thinking about the end game, which is your after-tax profit. You want to make the most after-tax profit you possibly can, instead of focusing on just minimizing your taxes to the least amount of taxes paid. Now, let's start with an example. So it's December. You're throwing around the idea of buying a $200 coffee maker for the office. Your current coffee maker's just fine. You have $1,000 in the bank. Now, you could go spend the $200 on that coffee maker, and if your tax rate is 35% tax bracket, that's going to work out. When you deduct it on your taxes, it basically reduces your taxes by $70. Yet, to get that $70 reduction in your taxes, you spent $200. So instead of having $1,000 in the bank, you now have $800 in the bank. Yes, you're paying $70 less in taxes, but you spent $200. Personally, I'd rather have the $200 versus the $70 in tax savings, especially if it's something you don't really need and you're using the tax savings to justify buying it. Now, the conversation does change if you do need to buy new laptops for all your employees. Maybe it's time you invest in some additional equipment in the office or a new software. If you already need it, fantastic, buy it. But just purchasing something to get the tax deduction isn't normally worth it. Now, if say you have a really large purchase compared to your net income, say $2,000 you need to spend, and you're wondering, well, should I spend that in December or should I spend that in January? Now that's a much larger type of expenditure here, and it could be worth it to discuss in a tax planning sense. Should you make the purchase in December or should you hold off until January? Now, that's a very different conversation than going on a shopping spree for equipment you don't really need. If you need it, valid topic to talk about. If you don't really need it and your mind's just fixating on minimizing your taxes, that's not where your brain should be focusing. You should be focusing on maximizing your after-tax profit. All right, I know I gave you a lot to think about, and I do want to repeat this again. Your goal should be to maximize your after-tax profit, not minimize your taxes. That should be your number one business goal for finances. You might have a couple other things for, like firm values and things like that, but when you're just looking at your numbers, maximizing after-tax profit. All right, if you found this helpful, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel or to our mailing list. If you subscribe to our mailing list, we do provide things such as year-end checklists and additional resources along with free webinars.